All right, get ready because we're going deep today into Tartaria.
Yeah.
So you sent me this collection of YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah.
Paint a really, really interesting picture of this empire. And they even suggest that it was maybe even more advanced than our own civilization.
Yeah, and I think what's so captivating about these videos is how they really encourage us to question, what we think we know about history.
Absolutely, like the origins of civilization, the technology that they used, all of it, all of it.
Yeah.
And they suggest that this empire, Tartaria, it spanned, huge continents, but it somehow just vanished from, history books and maps.
Around the 1800s.
Around the 1800 era. But they say the videos claim that its legacy is still visible.
Oh, it
today.
Absolutely.
The architecture.
Yes.
And maybe the technologies that we're just now kind of rediscovering.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the myths and legends that have been passed down.
For sure.
One of the first things that really jumped out at me was this connection that they make between Tartaria
yes.
and ancient Ireland.
Ancient Ireland.
It's really unexpected.
It is, and it's this idea that after this massive flood, Irish culture and knowledge spread all across the globe, and it influenced civilizations everywhere. Okay, and there's even a linguistic link that they highlight the word Tartar.
Okay.
And how it's similar to Gaelic words for noise, confusion, or even thief.
Wait, thief? Are they saying that the Irish, stole the secrets of civilization or something?
It's not quite like that. They're not saying that they stole anything. It's more like a deliberate distortion of history, okay? Where the true story of these ancient Irish, or maybe even a group that came before them, has been intentionally buried.
Okay. Now this is where it gets, really interesting.
Heard that.
They actually claim that these ancient builders might have been
giants.
And not just any giants.
No.
White giants with red hair.
Yeah, that's right.
And not just in Ireland, but potentially in America as well. Connecting to Native American legends about, red-haired giants.
Like the Saitikas, or the Naholo.
Wow, that is a bold...
It is a bold claim. And they tie this into the idea of cyclical resets, or cataclysmic events that have happened throughout history. They argue that these events, maybe they were triggered by advanced technology, or even some kind of cosmic forces, right? These events led to the downfall of civilizations like Tartaria. And all that was left behind were just these scattered remnants of their knowledge and their structures.
So are we talking about like an ancient alien situation, but with humans?
You could say that.
Like a civilization so advanced that what they did looks like magic to us today.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. And the videos offer some really compelling examples to back this up. Like what? Like they point to the massive scale and intricate details of structures like the Palace of Versailles or buildings from the Chicago World's Fair that seem to incorporate technology that was ahead of its time.
So their claim is that these buildings weren't actually constructed by the civilizations that we credit, but they were inherited, lost from Tartaria.
That's exactly it. Well, remnants of this forgotten era.
Okay.
And this leads us to a really crucial question. If this advanced technology existed, where did it go? And the videos propose that there was a deliberate suppression of knowledge, maybe by the people who stood to gain, controlling resources and energy. They specifically talk about something called EMF technology.
EMF?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they even suggest that the fasces, that bundle of rods with the axe head.
Right, the Roman symbol, eh?
The Roman symbol, that it might have actually been a weaponized form of this lost technology.
Okay, before we go any further, I think we need to clarify what EMF technology is. For people who might not know.
Yeah, it stands for electromagnetic field technology, okay? And it covers a wide range of things, from simple things like radios and motors to more complex concepts like wireless power transmission.
So they're suggesting that ancient civilizations had this deep understanding of electromagnetism, and they were using it in ways that we're only now starting to grasp.
Exactly, and they go on to connect this EMF technology to the use of sound and vibration. Okay, they talk about the acoustics in old churches and legends of ancient devices that could harness sound for incredible effects. They even speculate that this technology was used for healing, for energy generation, and maybe even
mind control. Wait a minute, mind control. Now we're getting into some pretty fringe territory.
It's definitely a controversial idea. But the videos draw on historical accounts of asylums and orphanages being used for more than just taking care of the thick and needy. Okay. They propose that these institutions might have played a role in reprogramming people.
Reiter historical reset.
Wow.
Erasing memories of the past and instilling obedience to the new order.
They even link this to organizations like the Oddfellows.
Yeah.
Suggesting that their seemingly philanthropic activities might have been masking a darker agenda.
It's a chilling thought, isn't it? It makes you question everything, like the control of information, manipulation of history, and who really has the power to shape our world.
Who decides what we remember and what we forget, right?
Exactly. Okay.
So we've got mud floods and petrification and melted buildings and mind control. It's a lot. Is there anything these videos don't attribute to Tartaria? I feel like we're going down a rabbit hole here.
Well, to be fair, they do say that some parts of the Tartaria theory might be based on misinterpretations or exaggeration. Okay. But they emphasize that it's really important to question the mainstream narrative.
Yeah.
To look for patterns and to be open to different viewpoints.
They even mention how early photographic techniques allowed for manipulation and compositing.
Yes.
Which makes you wonder about,
the authenticity of some historical images.
Exactly. Well, yeah. They highlight how history is often written by the victors.
Yeah.
And those in power have a real interest in controlling the story that's told.
Right. So even if some details about Tartaria are, questionable.
Yeah.
The main idea.
The core idea.
Yeah, that there's more to history than we're being told. That's
first exploring.
Exploring, yeah. It's at a mind-blowing deep dive so far, eh?
How?
But before we get too lost in speculation,
yes,
let's take a step back and look at some specific examples from the videos.
Okay.
They talk a lot about the evidence for these ancient technologies, and the possibility of us rediscovering them.
Yes.
So let's start with the idea of ancient EMF technology and the possibility that it was far more advanced than we can imagine today.
Okay, sounds good.
The videos highlight some really interesting examples, including
the fasces, that symbol we often associate with Roman authority. They suggest that it wasn't just a symbolic bundle of rods, but an actual powerful electromagnetic weapon.
Whoa.
Capable
Osner claiming
harnessing and directing energy in ways.
Those bundles of rods could actually manipulate energy. That seemed like a stretch, How could something so simple be so technologically advanced?
I know it sounds kind of out there, but that's where things get really fascinating.
Okay.
The video suggests that the rods themselves, the materials they were made from, the way they were arranged, they could have acted as a conduit for energy, but kind of similar to how a Tesla coil works.
Interesting.
Remember, we're talking about a civilization that might have had a mastery of electromagnetism that's far beyond our own.
Okay, so let's say for a second that they're right. What kind of energy manipulation are we talking about? Could they really have, weaponized this thing?
Well, the videos propose that the fasces could have been used to generate these powerful electromagnetic pulses.
Okay.
Capable of disrupting or even destroying enemy technology.
So imagine a weapon that could disable electronics or even create localized EMP blasts.
Exactly.
It is kind of a chilling thought, but it would explain why such a seemingly simple object held so much importance in ancient Rome.
Right.
And they connect this idea to other ancient symbols and structures, right? Obelisks.
Yes, exactly. They point out that obelisks, often made from things like granite, which we know has piezoelectric properties, they were found in many ancient cultures, right? And often placed in specific locations that seem to align with, energy grids. So they speculate that these obelisks, if they were placed strategically, could have actually acted as this global energy grid while harnessing and transmitting power wirelessly.
So instead of power lines and electrical grids, they're picturing a world where energy was just beaming through the air, almost like radio waves. Yeah, that's a pretty radical concept. Do they have any evidence to back that up?
It's definitely a bold claim, but the videos actually draw parallels to Nikola Tesla's work on wireless power transmission back in the early 20th century. Tesla was a visionary, inventor, and engineer, and he believed that it was possible to transmit power without wires by using the Earth's own electromagnetic field.
Okay.
And he even did experiments to show that this was possible.
So they're suggesting that ancient civilizations might have figured out something that even Tesla was only starting to understand.
That's the implication. They argue that people like Benjamin Franklin didn't actually discover electricity, right? It just rediscovered bits and pieces of knowledge that had been lost or hidden for centuries that may point to things like the Bad Dad battery, which is this ancient device that looks like it was used to generate electricity as evidence that people thousands of years ago understood how electricity worked.
It's like we've been looking at history with blinders on.
It is.
Assuming that our ancestors were primitive and that we're somehow at the peak of technology.
Yeah.
But what if we're just rediscovering things that were known all along?
What if it really makes you think?
Yes.
And they even go into this concept of etheric energy.
Okay, etheric energy. That sounds like,
I know, right?
like something out of a science fiction movie.
It does.
What is that exactly?
Well, it's pretty complex. Even physicists in the 19th century were debating about whether it even existed. Wow. But to put it simply, they thought it was this weightless, invisible substance that was everywhere in the universe. Okay. And it allowed light and other electromagnetic waves to travel. Okay. The video suggests that these ancient civilizations might have actually figured out how to tap into this ether and use it to power their technology and achieve things that seem impossible to us today.
Like building those massive stone structures that we talked about earlier.
Exactly, the one that would be incredibly difficult to build, even with all of our modern cranes and heavy machinery.
Are they suggesting that ancient civilizations could levitate giant stones?
Yeah.
Using etheric energy?
I know it sounds crazy, but that's one of the theories they put forward.
Okay.
They also talk about the precision and complexity of ancient stonework. And how it would have been almost impossible to achieve with just basic tools and brute force, right? They argue that technologies based on sound and vibration could have been used to manipulate matter, maybe even soften stone, to make it easier to work with.
So instead of backbreaking labor and crude tools, they're saying that these civilizations had technology that was so advanced, it would have looked like magic to us.
Exactly. They challenge us to rethink what we think of as magic. What if it's just advanced technology that we've lost the understanding of, and they point to ancient texts and legends that describe things that seem impossible, like building a pyramids or creating these intricate underground cities.
Speaking of underground city, the videos spend a lot of time talking about these underground networks that supposedly connect ancient civilizations all over the world.
All over the world, hiding
evidence of their advanced technologies.
Potentially, yeah.
So what's their take on that?
They explore the possibility that these underground networks, some of them natural, some man-made, that they were used for transportation, communication, maybe even transmitting energy.
And they even connect these underground systems to legends, like the Underground Railroad.
Yes.
Here in the United States, suggesting it might have a much older and more mysterious origin than what we've been taught.
That's right.
So they're not just talking about like hidden bunkers or secret societies, but entire underground cities and transportation systems. What kind of evidence do they present for this?
Well, they pull from a variety of sources, including ancient myths and legends, archaeological discoveries of underground structures, even modern reports of unexplained tunnels and caverns. Interesting. They also point to the existence of these natural cave systems that stretch from miles underground, and they suggest that ancient civilizations might have expanded on these natural formations to create their own networks.
It's fascinating to think about what might be hidden beneath the surface, It
is.
Like time capsules waiting to be rediscovered.
Right.
And it ties into the idea of mud floods and cataclysms burying entire cities.
Yes.
Do they talk about how these underground cities might have survived these events?
They do. They suggest that these underground networks might have been shelters, during cataclysmic events, So some people from these ancient civilizations could have survived, and potentially even preserved some of their knowledge and technology.
That's amazing. They also bring up petrification, right?
Yeah, for 3.
This process where things like trees can turn to stone.
Over time.
Pictures of those petrified forests. It's incredible to think that something like a tree can turn into stone.
I know.
They connect that to the idea of Tartaria and these lost civilizations.
Well, they show these pictures of rock formations that look a lot like trees and suggest that they might actually be the remnants of a vast ancient forest that was petrified during some kind of cataclysm. Well, they even propose that some mountains and canyons might be the petrified remains of giant trees. Whoa, which would totally change our understanding of geology and the history of the Earth.
Giant petrified trees forming mountains. That is mind-blowing.
It is. It's a wild concept.
Are they saying that these trees were petrified instantly, like during a cataclysm or something?
Yeah, that's one of the theories they suggest.
Nah.
And they also bring up the question of whether these petrification events were natural, or if they could have been caused by some kind of advanced technology, maybe related to manipulating energy or these etheric forces they talk about.
So we're talking about a potential connection between ancient technology, these massive cataclysmic events, and the very landscape of our planet.
Yeah, it's a pretty big idea.
That's huge.
It is, but the videos encourage us to think outside the box, to consider possibilities that might seem strange at first. They want us to question what we think we know about the past, and be open to new ways of interpreting the evidence.
They were somehow less advanced than us.
I know.
But what if they understood things about nature that we're just now rediscovering?
What if?
What if we've been looking at history backwards this whole time?
It's a really interesting thought, and it's something that the videos seem to be encouraging. Yeah, they present a view of the past that's full of mystery and wonder, where ancient civilizations had knowledge and technology that we can only dream of today.
They also raise questions about the origins of art and architecture.
Hey, they
seem to imply that a lot of the masterpieces we credit to, like the Renaissance or other periods, might actually be much older.
That's right, they point to the incredible detail, the advanced techniques, and just the sheer scale of some artwork, as evidence that it might be from a time period even earlier than what we think.
Wow.
They even talk about melted buildings, structures that look like they were exposed to intense heat, that caused the stonework to warp and melt like wax.
Melted buildings? How would they explain that? Were ancient civilizations playing with nuclear weapons or something?
Well, they have a few different theories. But one is that these melted buildings might be evidence of ancient energy weapons, maybe something similar to the weaponized fascias that we talked about earlier. Another possibility is that these structures were exposed to extreme temperatures during some kind of cataclysmic event.
Okay.
Like a massive solar flare.
Right.
Or a meteor impact.
Wow. It's incredible to think that events of that scale could have shaped our planet and its history.
I know, and it connects back to the discussion of cyclical resets.
Right.
This idea that history has been marked by periods of destruction and renewal, often wiping out entire civilizations and forcing humanity to start over.
It's a pretty sobering thought.
It is, and the video suggests that these resets might be a natural part of some kind of cosmic cycle. Or maybe the result of humans misusing advanced technology. They even suggest that the stories of Atlantis and other lost civilizations, might be based on real events, pieces of a forgotten past that have been passed down through myths and legends.
It's a lot to process, but it really gets you thinking.
It does. And
if we even consider the possibility that Tartaria existed, and that someone purposely tried to hide it, it raises all sorts of questions about history, controlling information, and what human civilization is truly capable of.
Absolutely, and it challenges us to look beyond the mainstream narrative, to question what we've been taught and to consider different perspectives that might give us a more complete understanding of our past and our place in the universe.
So, if this advanced civilization existed, and then it disappeared, what happened to the people? Where did they go?
That's the big question, isn't it? And the videos offer a few possibilities, like what? Things like mass migrations, maybe going to underground realms, or even a deliberate repopulation effort, maybe orchestrated by whoever inherited the pieces of Tartaria.
So instead of like a sudden vanishing act, they're suggesting like a slow fade. Assimilation and control happening over generations.
Exactly, like the changing of the guard, but over a really long time. Right. And they point to historical events like those orphan trains. Where they moved all those children from the cities to the countryside back in the 19th and 20th centuries. And they propose that this might have been part of something bigger. A way to repopulate certain areas, maybe with children who had been separated from their families, and their cultural heritage.
So are they implying that those orphan trains were like some secret operation to wipe out cultural memory and replace it with something new? I mean, that seems like a pretty big jump.
It's a bold theory for sure, Anya. And the videos tie it to the rise of things like asylums and orphanages, suggesting that they weren't just for care, but maybe for control and re-education, a way to instill new values and beliefs that align with whoever was in power.
That's a disturbing thought, if it's true.
It is.
It makes you wonder about how much social engineering has happened throughout history.
Right.
And if we've been misled about the past.
Exactly. If Tartaria was intentionally erased from our collective memory, what else might have been rewritten or just completely hidden?
It's like those stories about ancient libraries being burned down. Yeah, all that knowledge lost, and we're left with just these tiny pieces of the truth. It
Exactly.
makes you realize how easily history can be manipulated by whoever's in control.
Absolutely, it's a fragile thing.
Okay, let's say for a second that this really happened, this deliberate effort to reshape society and erase the memory of
Tartaria.
What would be the point? Why go to all that trouble?
Well, the videos look at several possibilities. So your own controlling resources and technology, there's suppressing knowledge that might challenge the existing power structure. They even suggest that whoever inherited the remnants of Tartaria might have been afraid of that knowledge.
Afraid of it.
Afraid that it could destabilize society or even triggering other one of those cataclysmic events.
So instead of sharing this advanced knowledge and technology with everyone, they chose to court it, control it, keep it hidden.
It's possible.
Wow. And
they go even further, suggesting that this repopulation might have even involved selective breeding.
Selective breeding.
Yeah, encouraging certain traits and eliminating others. They point to things like the prevalence of blue eyes and blonde hair in some populations as possible evidence of this.
Wait, are we talking about eugenics on a global scale? That's taking things to a whole other level.
It's a controversial theory, and the videos acknowledge that. It's important to be careful not to make generalizations or jump to conclusions based on limited information.
Right. That's important. It is, but even if we put aside the more extreme claims about genetic manipulation, the idea of this organized effort to reshape society and erase a whole civilization is just mind-blowing.
I know, it really is.
It makes you question everything you thought you knew.
Everything.
About history and how our world came to be.
It really does.
So where do we go from here? After this deep dive into Tartaria, I have more questions now than I did before.
It's a lot to take in, I know.
What do we do with all this information?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is to think critically and do your own research.
Right.
Don't just accept everything you hear or read, even from sources that seem credible. Right. Do your own digging, explore different viewpoints, and come to your own conclusions. The search for truth is a journey, it's not a destination.
That's good advice, and for anyone listening who wants to explore more about Tartaria and all of its implications, we've got links to the GoFundMe, study guides, and the Pulse of the Field community in the description. So who knows what you might find? Maybe you'll even make a discovery that changes everything we thought we knew about history.
It's possible.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep the conversation going.